The small hum of the space station was the only sound in Jason's quarters as he leaned back in his chair. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, glittering against the black canvas of space. Life aboard the research station was usually quiet, predictable, and, in Jason's opinion, a little boring. He had grown used to the routine: check instruments, log reports, and occasionally repair equipment. But today felt different. There was a tension in the air he could not explain. It started with a sudden vibration under his feet. Not the usual minor shakes of the station's engines, but a rapid, irregular pulse like something, or someone, had forced the airlock open. Jason jumped from his chair, heart racing. The lights flickered. His hand instinctively went to the small plasma tool at his belt. Before he could reach the airlock, the door to his quarters burst open. She appeared in the doorway, not a human, though humanoid in shape. Her skin shimmered with a soft silver glow like moonlight reflecting on water. Her eyes were wide and bright, almost luminescent, darting around the room with urgency. She did not speak at first. She just looked at him, her gaze sharp, commanding, desperate. Jason froze. He had expected intruders, maybe a malfunctioning robot, even a stray supply drone, but not this. She was unlike anything he had ever seen. I'm Jason," he stammered, taking a cautious step forward. Who are you?" She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she moved quickly, almost gliding, and closed the distance between them. Her movements were fluid, graceful, but urgent. She reached for a small device on the wall, a communications pad, and touched it with fingers that shimmered like liquid metal. Sparks flew briefly, then the pad sprang to life. "This station, it's not safe," she said finally, her voice musical but edged with fear. "They are coming, you must help me." Jason blinked, trying to process her words. "Who's coming? What do you mean?" "No time," she said sharply. Her eyes scanned the room again, restless. "If they find me here, the entire sector will be lost. Only you can stop them." Jason's mind raced. "Stop who? Stop what?" She pressed the pad to her chest. A holographic map burst into the air, displaying not stars and planets, but strange symbols and blinking red dots. Jason had no idea what most of it meant. The dots moved in patterns that suggested fleets, attacks, trajectories, things he barely understood. "They want to take everything," she said, her voice rising. "Everything we have worked for destroyed. I cannot fight them alone. You human, you are the key." Jason's pulse quickened. He had read about humans being underestimated in the galaxy, but never imagined anyone would call him a key to an interstellar crisis. His life until now had been quiet, unremarkable. He was a technician, not a hero. I don't even know how to fly a ship outside the docking bays," he protested. She turned to him fully, and for a brief moment, Jason saw something in her eyes that made his chest tighten. Raw fear, but also unshakable determination. "Then learn," she said simply. "There is no choice. Either we act now or everything ends." Jason swallowed hard. He could feel the weight of her words pressing down on him. The room suddenly felt smaller, the walls closer. And despite the danger, he felt a strange pull toward her, a combination of curiosity, responsibility, and awe. Before he could respond, alarms blared across the station. Red lights flashed, casting the room in a harsh glow. Jason's stomach lurched. The station's security system must have detected her entry, or worse, the enemies she mentioned were already here. "They're here," she said, moving toward the exit. "We must go now. I will guide you." Jason grabbed his belt, securing the plasma tool. "Guide me where?" "To the shuttle bay. We don't have time for questions." Despite his fear, he followed. The hallways of the station seemed endless, but she moved with purpose, almost knowing every twist and turn. Jason noticed how her fingers brushed against the walls, leaving faint, shimmering trails that vanished instantly. There was a strange energy in her, one that made him both nervous and strangely comforted. As they ran, Jason tried to process everything. Who was she? Why did she need him? And most importantly, why him? His life until now had been ordinary, mundane. Yet suddenly he felt as if fate had dragged him into a story far larger than himself, one where every step mattered. They reached the shuttle bay, a massive hangar filled with sleek ships. Most were designed for research, not combat, but she moved confidently toward one that looked smaller and more agile. She waved her hand over the console, and the ship's systems hummed to life. "Step in," she said. "I will show you everything, but we have to move quickly." Jason hesitated for a fraction of a second, then climbed aboard. The cockpit was filled with lights, levers, and displays he barely recognized. She guided him through the controls, her hands brushing his occasionally. Not intentionally, it seemed, but with a natural familiarity that made him acutely aware of her presence. "Focus," she said. "The controls are simple. You have instinct. Humans, you have something unique." He frowned. "Instinct? I don't even know what I'm doing." "You will," she replied, eyes fixed on the viewport. Outside, small ships streaked past, moving toward the station. Shadows against the stars, the enemies. Jason's heart pounded. He had never fired a weapon in space, never piloted a ship under attack, never faced anything even remotely like this. And yet, with her beside him, guiding, urging, explaining, he felt a spark of confidence. Not certainty, but possibility. "They're coming faster," she said. "I can't hold them off alone. You must fly. Trust yourself." Jason took a deep breath. He gripped the controls, palms sweaty. His mind raced, but something inside him clicked. The movements of the ship felt natural, almost like an extension of his own body. The hum of the engines, the rush of the stars, it was intoxicating, exhilarating, terrifying. Suddenly, one of the enemy ships streaked close, firing a burst of energy that rocked the shuttle. Jason yelped but maintained control. She leaned over him, guiding his hands, instructing. "Aim for the engines. Don't let them escape." He followed her instructions, heart hammering. With a sudden surge, he fired, and the enemy ship spiraled out of control, exploding in a flash of blue fire against the darkness of space. For a brief moment, silence fell. Then more ships appeared, more challenges, more danger. But Jason felt a strange, thrilling clarity. He was part of something bigger, something extraordinary. And beside him, the alien, his mysterious guide, was calm, resolute, ready to face anything. As they dodged, maneuvered, and fought through the first wave, Jason realized something important. This was no longer about him, about his routine, about his quiet life. This was about survival, courage, and trust. Trust in the unknown, trust in her, trust in himself. By the time they finally cleared the immediate threat, both were breathing heavily. Sparks flew from the control panels, the shuttle rocked, and the stars outside seemed alive with possibility and peril. She turned to him, her eyes gleaming with something he could not name, pride, relief, perhaps hope. "You're learning," she said softly. "And this is only the beginning. The real challenge lies ahead." Jason nodded, swallowing his fear. His world had shifted, forever changed. The quiet life he once knew was gone. In its place, a vast galaxy of dangers, mysteries, and wonders awaited. And for the first time in his life, he felt truly alive. The station did not feel the same anymore. Elia's ward could sense it even before anyone said it out loud. Corridors that were once busy with loud voices now felt quieter when he passed. Not cold, watchful, curious, careful. The debate about humanity had spread beyond council chambers. It was everywhere, in mess halls, in research decks, in military planning rooms. Humans were no longer ignored. They were being studied. Elias did not like that. He continued his work, but he felt the pressure growing. Invitations increased. Requests multiplied. Problems that had nothing to do with Earth somehow ended up on his schedule. And with every success, fear grew alongside admiration. Saren saw it clearly now. The galaxy was not afraid of humans because they were strong. It was afraid because humans changed things just by being present. A closed emergency council was called. This time, Elias was not invited. Saren, Lethara, Vesira, Keelan, and many others gathered in a sealed chamber. The atmosphere was tense. "This cannot continue," a delegate said. "Our leaders hesitate without the human present. That is unacceptable." "He does not command us," another argued. "We choose to listen." "That choice is the problem," the first replied. "Dependence begins with choice." Lethara spoke next. "Then what do you propose?" "Limit human influence, remove Ward from high-risk zones, keep him confined to advisory roles only." Saren felt anger flare. "You want to cage him." "I want to protect this coalition," the delegate snapped. The argument grew louder. Then the alarms sounded. Not local alarms, deep space priority alarms. A signal burst through every channel at once, raw, distorted, filled with panic. An unknown entity had emerged near a populated trade route. Ships were vanishing, not destroyed, gone, no debris. No energy signature. Sensors showed massive gravitational instability spreading like a wound. A silence fell over the chamber. "This matches the distortion patterns from the mining colony," Vesira said quietly, "but far larger." "If it spreads," Keelan added, "entire systems will collapse." Fear tightened the room. "Where is Elia's ward?" someone asked. Saren did not answer immediately. Elias was in a quiet observation deck alone when security found him. "You are needed," the officer said. Elias nodded and followed without a word. In the war chamber, hollow images showed star systems flickering out like dying lights. Every species had lost ships attempting to investigate. Psychic probes failed. Autonomous weapons vanished. Long-range attacks did nothing. "This entity does not respond to force," Lethara said. "It consumes it." Eyes turned to Elias, not because he had answers, because he had stood where others could not. Elias studied the data slowly. He asked questions, simple ones. What happens before a ship disappears? Is there any pattern in survivor reports? Has anyone tried staying instead of escaping? The room was quiet as experts answered. Finally, Elias spoke. "It reacts to panic," he said, "to resistance." Several delegates bristled. "That is speculation." "Everything here is," Elias replied calmly. "But humans have seen this before, not in space but in disasters, fires, collapses. Fear feeds chaos." "So what do you suggest?" Saren asked. Elias looked at the expanding dark zone. "I suggest we go in slowly," he said. "No weapons. No psychic shields, no fight." Outrage erupted. "That is suicide." "You would risk an entire crew." Elias met their gazes one by one. "I will go alone." The room froze. Saren stepped forward. "Absolutely not." "This is my choice," Elias said gently. "If I'm wrong, you lose one human. If I'm right, you save millions." Silence followed. Finally, Lethara spoke. "Humans are fragile." "Yes," Elias agreed. "That's why this might work." Against all reason, the plan was approved. A small human vessel was prepared, unarmed, minimal shielding, piloted by Elias alone. No escort, no backup. As he boarded, Saren walked beside him. "You are not expendable," she said, voice tight. Elias smiled softly. "No one is, that's why I'm going." She reached out, stopping herself just short of touching him. "If you do not return," he looked at her, "then remember us as we were, not as a threat." The ship launched. Across the station, countless eyes watched. The human vessel entered the distortion zone. Sensors screamed, then fell silent. Time stretched. Inside the ship, gravity twisted. Space folded. Fear pressed in like a living thing. Elias felt it, not as a monster, as despair. Images filled his mind: loss, failure, loneliness. The weight of every human fear layered together. He breathed. He remembered standing in disaster zones on Earth, holding shaking hands, saying, "I'm here." He did the same now. "I'm here," he said aloud. He did not fight the presence. He acknowledged it. "I see you." The pressure shifted. The distortion slowed. Elias felt himself being pulled apart, not physically but emotionally. Every doubt surfaced. Was humanity a mistake? Did he matter? He answered with truth. "Yes, we matter," he whispered. "Even when we're afraid." The darkness recoiled. Outside, sensors across the galaxy flared back to life. The expansion stopped. Then slowly the distortion collapsed inward, folding into nothing. The human ship emerged, damaged, silent, alive. Cheers erupted across the station. Some wept openly, others stood in stunned silence. Medical teams rushed as Elias was brought aboard on a stretcher. He was alive but barely conscious. Saren stayed with him. When he woke, the room was full, not with celebration, with respect. "You did not overpower it," Visera said softly. "You endured it." "That is what humans do," Elias replied weakly. The coalition reconvened days later. This time the decision was unanimous. Humans would not be restricted, they would not be controlled, they would be trusted. Saren spoke last. "We feared addiction," she said. "But this is not dependence. This is alignment." She looked at Elias. "Humans remind us why we reach for the stars in the first place." Elias returned to the observation deck one final time before Earth's next delegation arrived. The stars looked the same. But the galaxy did not. Saren joined him. "You changed everything," she said. Elias shook his head. "We just showed up." She smiled, a rare, honest expression. And far beyond the station, among countless worlds, a new understanding spread. Humans were not the strongest. They were not the fastest. They were not the most powerful. But they carried something bigger than all of that. And once the galaxy felt it, it could never let go.